Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Good day, and welcome to the show on this Sunday, the 26th of June, 2022. Thank you for tuning in. Sometimes you're right the first time, but things will happen in between that make you reassess your judgment of something. Events in the world can happen in between. And an awful lot of you guys out there purchased Bitcoin when Bitcoin was high and maybe getting higher. I don't know. You might have started purchasing it when it was like $30,000 for a Bitcoin, and you might have purchased it all the way up to 68,000 and bought some. And an awful lot of people who believe in cryptocurrencies did that because they believe in it. They believe in the fundamentals behind it as a new means of payment around the world that is separate and individual from the payment system that's already in place. And why did you do it? You saw the corruption within the payment system that's already in place, how it's nothing more than a global Ponzi scheme that's coming to an end. So you bought cryptocurrencies thinking, hey, this stuff is going to go to the moon. Well, it went up to $68,000. Now it's fell back down to $20,000. Some of you lost a lot of money and stuff, and it's shaken your belief in the fundamentals of cryptocurrencies. And sentiment now at this point is extremely low. In fact, a lot of people don't even want to hear it. In fact, some people that's listening to my show today might just turn me off. They might say, oh, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it about cryptocurrencies anymore. Damn that stuff. I'm never purchasing that stuff again. I lost my shirt on it. Well, I'm here to tell you that sometimes your first instincts are the correct instincts. And we are heading into a sovereign currency crisis very rapidly. The Fed's trapped right now. They got no place else to go. They've got basically three choices. They can have an outright default on the system where the United States says, well, we're not going to be able to pay on these bonds, and they default on they don't raise the debt ceiling, and they default, basically an outright default. That ain't going to happen, guys. So we can pretty much push that one out of the picture. And what's the other thing the Fed can do, is to start to print again. And that's going to lead us toward hyperinflation. And it's a default of sorts. It's what I believe they're actually going to do, is they're going to continue to kick the can like they have been all along. This is what's pointing pointing the most toward happening. But what are they doing right now? Right now, we're in this little intermediate period where the Fed is going through a tightening schedule. And so it's having a very adverse effect upon stocks. It's having a very adverse effect upon cryptocurrencies. And it's also put a lot of negative sentiment in there. And a lot of people are worried, too, because they realize that the central bank is going to release a digital dollar of some sort or another, probably about another 8 months down the line, called a central bank digital currency. And they're saying, well, won't that just replace Bitcoin? We won't need Bitcoin anymore. Well, what I'm going to say to you guys is when they finally do, and they're absolutely going to, release their central bank digital currency, they're also going to use it as a method of control. And also, out there right now, you've got 8 million Americans today that can't make rent payments. And that number is growing. It's growing really, really fast. It's soon going to be 16 million, and then 32 million people can't make their rent. And as that number grows, we're going to have an awful lot of disgruntled people, plus what do they do with all those people? They can't make the rent. Where are they going to live? The social support system that's in place right now just can't handle all this. And they realize this. The central planners, they realize all this. This it can't last much longer. This is why they've scheduled the central bank digital currency to come to the rescue. It's like the cavalry coming. It's to rescue them from this horrendous situation of a dying economy, the end of a world empire, and all of these people who are falling by the wayside and are not going to be able to not only make it a rent, they're not even going to be able to feed themselves very soon. So that's what they're going to use the central bank digital currency for. Banking for all. Even the hobo on the street corner. They'll give him a little plastic card that's a direct account to the Fed. And he can walk into any store. They'll slide him that little black square box thing, the cash register people do. And he just runs the chip across it, and then a few seconds later it says approved. It's money that's coming directly from the government in the form of a central bank digital currency. But at the same time, if he walks into a store and he wants to buy a bottle of booze, it just won't approve. He won't get the approval. So they're going to be able to actually control what you want to purchase. You go into the grocery store if you're a hobo and they give you one of these little cards. It'll approve you buying groceries, standard groceries. But they can even make it so discernible that if you go over to the cigarette section in the same grocery store and try to purchase a carton of cigarettes, it'll go beep, not approved. They've got that power once they get the central bank digital currency in place. You know, and their credit score system, too, as well. That's going to come with the central bank digital currency. So everybody is going to be working toward this credit score. Their credit score is going to be right on your phone. Or on your little plastic card they give you. So even the hobos out there, even the people who are down and out on Skid Row, drunks, are going to have a social credit score. And you're going to be able to improve your social credit score or have it weaken. And that's going to be like a two-tier society. People who have a good credit score will have perks, and people who don't have a good credit score are going to have to suffer the consequences. They might not be able to ride the bus. Heck, you've got a bad credit score. Beep! You can show your card to get on the bus. Beep! Bad credit score. Sorry, you can't ride this bus with everybody else because you got a bad credit score. Well, how do you improve your credit score? You know, it's going to be on a lot of people's minds, and they're going to be working at that. You have to do everything the government wants you to do. A lot of it might be involving things that lower carbon emissions and so on, you know, if you don't have a good credit score. So this is the kind of society we're moving toward, a completely controlled society. And this method of control is going to come through the central bank digital currencies. But at the same time now, let's go back to Bitcoin. Bitcoin is this alternate system of payment that's been running parallel to the legacy monetary system. But it's been running parallel all along, and it's been slowly appreciating in value. It can't go anywhere except appreciate in value, ultimately, as long as they're running this Ponzi scheme, where this Ponzi scheme's really going to take off big when they start trying to support all these people with currency that's created by the central bank digital currency, CBDC, and universal basic income. They're going to increase the amount of dollars they put out there into the system to try to support all these people who aren't working anymore or who can't find a job. That's creating money from nothing. And that money you create from nothing, if you create it from nothing, it's going to be ultimately worth nothing. And so the question of, won't central bank digital currency destroy Bitcoin? It is going to make Bitcoin, because it's going to destroy the fiat currencies. The central bank digital currencies, and each of the central banks is going to make their own version. In fact, it's a race right now. The United States is trying to get ahead of Russia and China on this. It's going to destroy the purchasing power of the dollar even quicker, much quicker. And yes, if they're successful, it might keep the dollar as the world reserve currency standard for just a little bit longer. But ultimately, it'll be the destruction of the fiat currencies. And that's when we're going to see Bitcoin make a big, giant turnaround. But one of the big questions I have right now is, how low can she go before the big turnaround? You know, because right now we're in this Fed tightening cycle. The markets are going to be tipsy-turvy over the next few weeks. There's going to be a lot of volatility until the Fed does what's called a pivot. And during that period in time, we might see the lowest prices on Bitcoin we've seen in ages. Now, some people say, oh, we wouldn't touch cryptocurrencies from the devil and all this kind of stuff, you know. We wouldn't touch it because what if the internet goes out? You know, where's your cryptocurrency then? And all these kind of things, you know. And yes, you know, during this systematic collapse of an empire, we might see the electricity go out. We might see the internet go out. But it's not going to be the whole world. It's going to be localized areas. And oftentimes it's going to be blackouts or brownouts that are intermittent. Might be out for a day or might be out for a few hours. And then it comes back on again. That's what we're going to see. We're going to see utter chaos in the system, ultimately. Brownouts, blackouts to spread over wide areas because things that have been supporting the power system fail. Things like Hoover Dam, you know, produce a lot of power into the grid, overall grid, and you're going to have brownouts or blackouts when they start to remove some of these energy sources from the grid. But ultimately, the grid's going to stay up, at least in most places in the world, are going to have power. And with the power is also going to be your cryptocurrencies are there to stay, guys. I'm sorry. The only way we're going to lose the cryptocurrencies is if maybe we were to have an all-out thermonuclear war or something else that would put us into a Mad Max type of world. Then maybe I'd say, yeah, cryptocurrencies are toast. They're gone. But for the most part, I don't think that's going to happen. But what we are going to see happen is when we see this central bank pivot and the banks change direction and they start to go back to a more loose monetary policy. And in fact, even possibly fiscal stimulus again. And most positively, fiscal stimulus in the form of a central bank digital currency. When we see that happen, and it's not that far away in the future, the first thing we're going to see the big shots out there do is run to gold and silver as a safe haven store of value. And they're going to strip it clean. They're going to buy every last ounce of silver. They're going to buy every last piece of gold. And there's going to be none left. And then there's going to be vast amounts of money that are chasing after something real because we're going into a hyperinflation extremely fast because they have the central bank digital currency. I'm only talking about 8 months from now. Then where all of that liquidity, possibly maybe as much as $100 trillion, not billion, possibly as much as $100 trillion, and of all the picture of the time when all of the gold and silver are gone, they've all been snatched up by investors. And they still got tons and tons of liquidity left over. And they're looking to get into, they're going to be looking to get into something, anything that's going to go up in value. By that time, cryptocurrency will have made its final bottom in price and it'll be on the rise again. Sentiment will increase again into cryptocurrencies. People will start to get excited about it again. There'll be a lot more use cases for it, and we're going to see another big boom in cryptocurrencies, bigger than we've ever seen before. And we're going to have a very astronomical amount of money pour in. So what am I saying in all this? What I'm saying to you guys is, when you decided to buy your Bitcoin, your first Bitcoin, maybe 6 months or so ago, and the price was high and you think you've lost money, your first thoughts on this were probably correct. It's just right now you've got shaken a little bit. Don't be shaken by this. This is going to come back, and it's going to come back stronger than ever. And, I'm going to tell you, if you got some, just imagine if you had a little bit more at a really cheap price. Who knows? Maybe it might go down to 15,000, 12,000 even, before this is over, and we switch and go in the other direction. Now, what if it goes up to over $100,000 on the other side of this? 150,000 even. Say you sell and say you take a loss right now because you get shaken out of the tree. Don't allow yourself to get shaken out of the tree. Always keep some in hand. Don't sell all of it. And you got to have the idea that when it reaches its final bottom here, and I'm going to be on top of it for you guys, and we'll try to figure out where the real bottom is. And you notice I'm not out there saying the bottom's in yet. I don't think it is. But I will, and you know me, I'll try to tell you when we see this bottom. It might be the best move you ever made in your life. You got to think about these things a little bit. And think that it's not over for cryptocurrencies, not by a long shot. This is a new technology, a new way of not only storing value, but being able to move currency from one place to another across the internet meets the criteria of being a currency for the modern age. And these central bank digital currencies out there are going to be the biggest failure of all, ultimately. Thank you guys for listening to the show. Stay strong through these hard times. I'm trying to navigate them just like you guys are trying to navigate them, trying to figure it out ahead of time. But it's very difficult. These are very difficult times we're going through right now. And it's very difficult to navigate your way through it. My top recommendation for somebody who, if they don't have any gold and silver already, is do that first. Cryptocurrencies, don't invest more in cryptocurrencies than you're willing to lose. So, if you say, okay, I got an extra $100 this week at work or whatever, and I can splurge, I can spend it on anything, maybe I'm going to run out and treat myself to a pizza or whatever. And then you say, no, I want to invest it instead. You think, no, maybe I'll save it. Maybe I'll invest it, the extra $100. And that's money I can lose. I don't care if I burn it. It's just money I can burn through anyway, and I'm just going to save it. That's the money to use for investments. That's your money to use for investments. It's money you can afford to lose. Well, if you haven't got any gold and silver, I'd say you want to give that a serious look first before you mess with cryptocurrencies. Thank you guys for listening to my show. Like and subscribe, and we'll catch you guys in the very next episode. Bye-bye.